What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin, and today I have Paul Ebert joining me. If you guys don't know who Paul is, Paul currently serves as the brand president for Two Maids. I know, not a dog grooming company, but he also serves as brand president for Aussie Pet Mobile. Yep, you heard me. You guys have all seen an Aussie van before. Two Maids, though, is a nationally recognized residential cleaning franchise. They have over 100 locations throughout the U.S. And Aussie, as we know, is one of, if not the largest mobile pet grooming brands in the nation, with more than 75 franchise locations and 350 mobile pet salons on the road. I've got Paul here today to share some of the business insights he's learned along the way, along with where he kind of sees the future of mobile grooming going. Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Perfect. So did I get that stat right? Is Aussie really the biggest mobile pet grooming business in the U.S.?
Based on everything we can see, yes, that is the case. And so I need to update some stats. We're actually pushing closer to 450 mobile pet units on the road today. And so, I think we're only beginning to scratch the surface of where we believe this can go.
So 450. At what rate are you guys expanding them? Because I could have sworn I didn't pull that stat too long ago. I'm like, holy cow, man, we're on a rocket ship here.
Yeah, so our plans for this year is I kind of took over the role at Aussie Pet last April, so April of 2023. So I'm still relatively new to the space and the industry, but our goal for this year was to bring in 12 new owners in 36 territories. And so each territory has to have a van in it. That was the goal at the beginning of the year. To date, we've brought in 27 new owners and 71 territories. And I expect to push close to 100 by the end of the year. So it's been a crazy amount of growth.
That's phenomenal. One, kudos to you for doing that in such a short time. But that begs the question to me. So for us unfamiliar with how the franchise model works, you said you have a certain amount of owners. I think it was like 27 and a certain amount of territories. I think it was like something in the 70s, yes. Right? So does that mean you guys expect each owner to own and to open up 2 or 3 mobile grooming vans, one for each territory?
Yes, that is correct. And so we are in the business of putting people into business, and we want them to be able to scale those businesses. And so our requirements are that you're going to get the 3 vans in your first year. So you're going to start with 1, and then you're going to bring on a groomer to kind of get that van going. And once it's kind of built up some scale and it's, you're waiting a couple of weeks to get a new appointment on the books, we want you bringing on that second van and then the third van. And that really comes from our existing franchisee base. As we talk to them, we've been around as a brand for 30 years. And so we have lots of people with lots of experience across the country with, owners that have 15, 20, 25 vans in their market. And almost to a T, every time I talk to somebody, they said, I wish I would have gotten to 3 vans faster, because that's really when.
Is that when the unlock happens?
Yes. And so, my opinion, as we were talking to our team, I was like, if that's what they say, let's not talk about it. Let's be about it. And so that's what we're doing.
Okay, interesting. So the magic number is 3. And I know you're throwing that out there, and maybe a disclaimer here is the magic number for you guys and for Aussie is 3, with how your economics work and how the pricing works, how you pay yourself, how you pay your groomers, et cetera. That doesn't mean for all of us listening, we should take that as a blanket slate that life is 100% easy and kick back when we have 3. I'm sure it is quite busy. But with that being said, okay, so if that's that magic number 3 for you guys, how do you enable and how do you encourage people to go from 1 to 3 as quickly as possible? I would imagine that's a lot harder than it actually sounds.
It is, and so we, as we're trying to find candidates, most of our new folks are new to the grooming space, but they want to be business owners. They want to build their own legacy. They've been in corporate America or doing something else, and they see this as an opportunity. And like all of us, there's a love and affinity for pets in the space that we're in, and so it's an easy kind of tug at the heartstrings to get into this space. And so, but we also have to balance that with being a business owner. And so we're coaching them on working on their business. Obviously, we want them to have the ability to roll up their sleeves and groom a pet if they need to. But we really want them to be business owners and to build teams and to be focused on building a culture and building process and following process and scaling. And so, that is where we do a lot of coaching. And so, we kind of view the business as we're looking at it. There's 3 pillars for us. The biggest one and the first one is groomers and building that experience and that culture. For us in the mobile space, it is the van, right? The equipment. So making sure that we're staying on top of trends and we're able to meet expectations there. And then the third is technology. And so being able to leverage technology appropriately and effectively to build efficiency, whether that's in schedules, to build, whether it's in, making sure that we're providing the right service to the right breed. If we need to do a de-shedding treatment, that we're pricing it appropriately, getting paid for that time, and so yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, those 3 pillars are easy for any business owner, I think, to take away. And if you can focus on those three, I mean, sounds like a sure path way to make sure you're focused on the right things. Let's dive into each of those pillars, starting at the top with groomers. Obviously, as we all know, finding high quality groomers is extremely difficult. For you guys, especially with, I would imagine, a fair amount, I don't know how many of your owners not being groomers themselves, it becomes even more so important that you're able to find them and that you're able to keep finding them so you can scale as one of your guys' mobile owners. Talk to me about what are the keys to the game of finding high quality groomers and making sure you're finding the right ones.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that can be a learning experience, right? We go through the process, especially for our newer franchisees, right? Our first hire is typically an experienced groomer. We take our time to do that, to find that person. We're in markets all across the country, and so it can vary a little market to market for us and how we're going about that. But we're leveraging tools, and we've got people helping us with job descriptions and making sure compensation is appropriate, and we're meeting all those things. And then we're really leaning in with our franchise owners, to follow the golden rule you learned as a child, right? To treat others like you want to be treated, to build that culture inside of their own business. I think all of us with some experience in working America probably have a story of not being in a great job experience. Whether, my first job was at McDonald's at 16 years old, right? And so, and I learned a lot in that role, right? My first job out of college, I was in public accounting. I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, but I wouldn't trade that experience.
Right.
But it really is building it how you want it to be. And so finding somebody that can align with your mission and vision and values, things that new business owners need to take the time to create. Even if you're the groomer in a van, right, you need to still go through that process of figuring out where you want to be in 5 or 10 years and setting your North Star and following that. And I think as we do that, and as our owners do that, being able to find people becomes easier.
No, that totally makes sense. Okay, so let's move through kind of the hiring funnel here. So you guys, have these kind of pillars for hiring. Obviously, you try and lean on finding someone that's a bit more experienced to help the rest of the process flow a little bit more smoothly. Let's talk about comp. We're hiring. How important is comp to the hiring equation?
Yeah, it's going to be near the top of everybody's list, right?
Right. I mean, we can't deny it, right? Yeah,
That's
we
right.
can't.
And so, and look, I'm going to give a little disclaimer here as a franchisor. Like, we do not set comp rates across the country. Our individual business owners are the employers of, it's their employees, and so they're setting compensation rates based on their market. Now, we can help them in research, right? We can help them figure out what the going market rate is in certain
Sure.
areas. And we do, a lot of our owners pay on a commission scale, right? Which a lot of, even the brick and mortar locations do the same thing. And where we can run into issues, quite frankly, is, a commission percentage, right? Because we are mobile, we are a premium offering. Our ticket prices are typically more than the brick and mortar locations, and so with that, and some of our other expenses, our commission rates may feel lower when we say them out loud. When you say 30 or 35% out loud, and somebody's used to making 50, we have to go do the math, right? Like
Right.
the average
And
ticket
that's what it
price.
takes. I mean, it's something as easy as just like, all right, hey, listen, here are where our price is at. Here's how many dogs we're doing a day. If you were to take that and add in your commission and your tips, I mean, you're netting out much more than you would if you even had that higher commission price.
Correct. That's
I
right.
actually, I really like that you guys as a franchisor leave it up to the franchisees to set commission rates, because I think things can get a little bit hairy if you set a baseline, because then your franchisees might feel a little bit capped, and a little bit disincentivized to make certain moves in the business if they feel like they're stuck with their commission rates or stuck with their hiring rates.
And we do the same thing on pricing, right? We provide guidance for them for pricing their services, but our expectation, and we believe our job is to help them be better owners, right? Is to be the owner of the business and to own, their own business, and we go in to support that. And we've got some pretty lofty goals for the brand and where we want to go, which means we have to understand our franchisees' goals, right? And we have to help them accomplish their goals first before we can accomplish ours. And so that's really kind of our take on how we go about doing business.
No, I like that. I mean, I think when I first got into grooming and someone explained kind of the difference between kind of the franchisees or the franchise model and not, obviously it works the same whether you're in grooming or not. But one of the big advantages that has stuck with me since is that in the franchise model, you have people that are thinking about the things you never want to think about, right? You have people like you just said, you're thinking about, if I'm a franchisee, helping me grow and helping me reach my goals, because at the end of the day, that's going to help you as your business reach your goals as well. And so I think that's like an underserved aspect of being part of a franchise, that you miss out on if you're not, right? You mentioned a couple ways that you guys have been able to scale as in your equipment, keeping that high quality, along with your van. Talk to me about that, because just like labor, the vans right now too are, might seem dang near impossible for some mobile groomers to get. And so talk to me about how you guys think about not only keeping the highest quality equipment, but, staying up to trend with it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of pride ourselves on this, right? We were the first to market with a no idle, completely lithium ion powered van, to where we're not, it can run. The van is completely self-sustaining. We can pull in your driveway, turn off the ignition, and not use any water or power from the customer, and not have the exhaust running consistently in somebody's driveway. And so we know that, as we kind of look into our crystal ball, we don't know when it's going to happen, but just from an environmental perspective, and as the industry continues to grow and we put more units on the road, this is going to become a big deal, right? And so we're trying to stay ahead of that curve. I know there's certain states.
You guys are going to EV?
So we still buy a Mercedes chassis, right?
Yeah.
I know Mercedes is starting to get to EV.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to be the first adopter of that,
Sure.
to be honest with you, but it is on our radar as we continue to look into the future.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Super fair.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like outfitting some of your guys' vans as well. How are you, as on your perspective at your desk, overseeing the growth of your company here? How are you to enable that you guys can get vans when you need them, right?
Yeah, so we actually we have a relationship with Mercedes directly, and so we are getting an annual allocation, and then we use a private upfitter that has designed an Aussie Pet Mobile van for us, and then we're starting to explore as we just think through kind of the growth we talked about earlier. Right, we don't want vans to become a choke point or a bottleneck for us, and so are there other kind of best in class vendors that are out there that we can leverage and use kind of in a time of need, right? Like I said, I've got 71 territories that are sold. They're all going to need a van within a year. That's a lot of vans to produce.
A
And so
lot of
making
fans,
sure,
especially with other companies having waiting lists, and that's
yeah,
just within you guys, right?
that's right. And so, we've been able to maintain and stay on top of it so far. Doesn't mean it doesn't come without ebbs and flows, and and they're pieces of equipment, right? We have to remember that,
Yeah.
and
Break. Yeah.
things break, things, pieces, quit working, and usually they don't happen like when you're pulling into your driveway at the end of the day, like, oh, that was a good day. Now I got something I need to fix. It's in the middle of a groom,
Sure.
with a wet dog on the table that you're trying
Yeah.
to get dry. And so we have built out, I've got somebody on our team that is only dedicated to van support, right? We have relationships with our upfitter to where, we've got dedicated service lines, and so it is really important for us, and as we continue to grow, to maintain, we're never going to be able to eliminate downtime of a van, but if I can take something that used to keep a van off the road for 4 days and make it only a 1 day down, then we're really starting to make some progress.
I know it depends is an easy answer to give for this next question, but are there any cases that you've found that you can eliminate some of those, 4 or 5, 6 day downtime maintenance issues out the gate by changing a decision on the vans or on the generators? So be it.
Yeah, so we are really focused on maintaining consistency, right? And so across our fleet, the 450 vans we talked about, 430 of them are Mercedes Sprinter vans, right? So we're not selling Ford and Dodge and Mercedes. We're trying to eliminate some of the variables that come with it. We work with components manufacturers that are going into the van to make sure that, if we have a warranty claim, that we're able to go faster, right?
Mhm.
We worked with our upfitter that they have an individual on their team that is the only person that doesn't work for one of the components manufacturers that can submit warranty claims on our behalf. And so we don't have to go through the process with the vendor. And so we're able to make that claim. We're able to get that part shipped overnight that day with the decision, as opposed to sometimes it would take 2 or 3 days to get the warranty specialist on the phone to get them all the documentation that they needed, and then they make the decision, and then the part gets shipped. And so,
It's
yeah,
kind of like the Southwest model a little bit, just using one type of vehicles, Southwest, just using the Boeing 737, making a lot of the maintenance and customer service aspect side of things much easier. You guys have one model to deal with.
yes. Now, look, there's changes with
Yeah.
year to year, right? I mean, Mercedes is constantly making updates, and so we're
Right.
learning and tweaking as we go. And we've launched van series in the past, and we've made changes and iterative improvements, and we're going through that process right now
Yeah.
as well as we speak. And so, I mean, it's an ongoing process for us that will be always ongoing, but we do try to eliminate as many variables as we can.
Sure. No, totally makes sense. So we've talked about scaling or consistency as a key to maintaining van uptime. I want to talk about consistency in customer experience as you guys have scaled. As we all know, I mean, having one or maybe even only two vans or two locations, it can seem hard as it is to make sure that everyone on the team, whether it's just you or whether it's a few people, are holding the same high bar when it comes to treating your customers with respect and dignity and positivity, etc. We're now talking about 435 locations for you guys. How do you maintain that high bar of customer excellence and customer experience as you continue to scale?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the way we started the conversation. If we're building the right culture inside of that franchise location, if that owner is committed to doing the right things, and we're talking about it often, and the groomer feels that, right? The service I mean, they are kind of the key to our business, right? Without them, we don't exist. And so, but if we're treating them right, we're treating them the right way, they're going to in turn treat our customers the right way, right? And so that really is where it starts. And so, an Aussie Pet customer across this country has no idea who I am.
Right.
But they know who Bella is, who took care of Fluffy last week, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's the way it should be. And so we need to be focused there. And so, as we're looking into the future, right? That is, you use Southwest already as an example. I'll use them again. If you're in that industry and you're, an airline hostess, you're a pilot, like they're typically rated as the best place to work, right? And so we want to be that inside of this industry. We have a long way to go to do that, but we're committed to building it and to continuing to do it, which in turn goes into the customers. But then also on we've got another pillar we talked about in technology.
Yeah.
We are trying to become easier to do business with for our customers, right? And so we're in the process of building out and launching an online, consumer customer portal that gives them the opportunity to do some self-service. We're in a piloting phase with that right now, and some of the early data that we see is 2/3 of interactions that we get on that platform are happening outside of business hours and on the week, so at night and on the weekends.
Huge.
And
Yeah.
we're giving, the consumer, and right now it's just for existing customers, but will soon to be for anybody that's coming into our network or being serviced by an Aussie Pet, that they can see their previous appointments, they can see their upcoming appointments, they can see, the service that they received last time, and if they wanted to change something, or we have some ability to do some add-ons and some fun pictures and bandanas and seasonal type things, that they have that ability to do it, and they can do it at the touch of a button. And Alex, I know you're busy like I am. I usually don't have time to pick up the phone and call a local business
Sure.
to do that between 8 and 5.
Oh yeah.
And when I do have time, that local business isn't there. So now we're just giving that opportunity. And we're giving our franchisees a little bit of a break too, right? Because now they come in the next morning, they see these requests, they see that Alex wants an upgraded appointment next time. We can get that taken care of. Alex has had a better experience. We're making a little bit more money, but we're doing it on our terms and not having to be in front of the computer at 8 o'clock to service that.
Yeah. And you talked so highly about the advantages that it offers the customer at the end of the day. But it also, you're right, adds so much benefit to the groomer as well. I mean, it's so much less headache for them to deal with while they're in with their clients, right? I mean, it's so many, for a lot of us, it's a lot less texts and calls that we would ever have to deal with, right? And for a lot of your groomers too, it's like, you're right. I mean, I don't have to deal with, knowing that all of my clients' notes are taken down, right?
Yep.
Or maybe pictures, right? That sort of stuff. So there's a benefit not only to the customers and your groomers, but to your groomers as well, which makes it just a huge, home run if you guys can figure that out. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the 3 pillars and how you guys are operating right now. Let's shift gears towards the future. So I have a few almost hot take sort of questions for you
Sure.
regarding, kind of where you're at right now and where you guys see the future going. So my first one is there's some controversy, with people that own, let's stay in the mobile grooming arena. People that own many mobile grooming vans that say franchising is not the model. It's not going to, you're not going to be able to scale. You're not going to be able to maintain quality. You're not going to be able to keep the franchisees happy. And then obviously there's the other side of it. I've talked to many franchise owners in the space, such as yourself, that, hey, franchising is the only, plausible way to scale and build a nationwide mobile grooming brand. I want to hear your take. Why is franchising the way to scale versus, let's call it flagshipping?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, right, franchising has quite a few perks, right? And this is across just the franchise industry, right? So the failure rate of a franchise business in its first year is much less than the failure rate of a solo individual going to start a business in the same industry, right? And there's a couple of reasons for that, right? One is for us and the way we design territories and sell territories, they are zip code protected. And so if you own a zip code, nobody else in our network can come work in that area. And what does that do, right? It gives that person the ability to share best practices, the ability to mentor or talk to their next door neighbor about, hey, I tried that when I first started. You should stay away from it. So you've got a built-in support system across the country of people that have been in the exact situation that you're in today, whether you're a new owner, an old owner, you had your longest term groomer quit, like you have, 100 other people that have lived that and breathed that and who are rooting for you to succeed. And so they are willing to pick up the phone and talk you through it. Right.
Right. It's a built-in support network because you're not worried about competition or them taking your customers, right? You're on the same team.
That's right. And if two neighbors that are in neighboring territories are both doing really, really well, it also just adds more wind to those sails, right?
Right.
And so that's one. We have been around, for 30 years. Like we've bumped our head into that wall, and we've done it 100 times, right? And so you get to learn when you come into a franchise brand, you get to learn what to avoid there. Right? Like you can learn how to walk around the wall instead of banging your head through the wall. And so, and that's really what we're designed to do, is to kind of support in that manner. We have processes. I mean, we're able to leverage purchasing power, and do some things that come along with it. But there's also added expenses with royalties and fees that we have to charge to be able to meet our needs. So, we can still run really profitable businesses that have a support network behind it that is kind of unmatched.
That makes sense. Let's keep going. What industry trends are you guys paying attention to, and what excites you? I mean, obviously you guys are sitting pretty high on a pillar with so much reach all the way across the nation, with a lot of this purchasing power, with a lot of very powerful partnerships in this space. What are some interesting trends that you guys are seeing that we will come to see as time rolls out?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a few happening. Some are not even related to the pet industry, right? Just the American public is really starting to value convenience a lot more. They're learning to value, I think, as a society, right? Like our time is very important to us, more so than it used to be even maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And so when we can provide a service that is more convenient, right? We show up at your front door, we're providing a better experience for the pet because they're getting a one-on-one treatment in a safe environment, and there's no other pet around to nip at them or that may have a cough that they're going to catch. It's a one-on-one service. So we're offering that kind of premium offering. And so, pet ownership, everybody listening to this call probably has seen all the statistics I have since the pandemic and what that means. And for younger generations that are, having pets instead of children sometimes, and so in the way they spend money.
Like humanization of pets.
Yes. Pets are a part of the American family now. And that's not going to change. And so all of those things, right, those mindsets have mobile pet grooming in a really unique position, right? Because we're providing the convenience. We're taking care of a family member better than that family member has really ever been taken care of. And so it provides us a unique opportunity to be able to do that. You can start to see that in the shift of, I think 10 years ago, mobile grooming was 1% of the grooming industry. Yeah, I think that's pushing into the low teens now. And that percentage is only still going to get more and more as we continue to go. So
I love that. I mean, you're right. You guys are in mobile groomers in particular in a very beneficial situation with the way that the American public is trending towards convenience and towards this like humanization of their pets. With that being said, do you have any predictions for where you see mobile grooming evolving or going next? What does mobile grooming look like in 10 years?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of eyeballs on the space these days. We have more competition in terms of, other franchisors and bigger brands. that are coming into the space and investment dollars behind them coming into the space. And so I think you're going to see investments in technology, right? You're going to see more software offerings. You're going to see people continue to pull in here, which is going, competition is a good thing, right? Competition makes us all better, right? And so, when we have to raise our game because of the said competition, we're not afraid of that as a brand, right? We welcome it, right? And still, the industry, is largely, I don't have a direct percentage on this, but I'm going to say 95% of this industry is still mom and pops, right? It's still the local service provider doing a really good job at what they do and their craft and taking care of their customers. So that kudos to every one of them for taking that leap and doing that and being out there. I also know that when we call those folks, like they're 8 weeks out, right? They're 10 weeks out. I've got a customer base. And so there is an unmet demand that is continuing to be out there. And so we are building, to that as we go. My team laughs at me because every time somebody asks this question, my answer changes and it usually goes up, right? So I get a similar question, but it's usually a lot more pointed at Aussie Pet, right? So where do you believe Aussie Pet can be 10 years from now? Yeah. It started like when I first took this job 16 months ago, I was like, oh, I think we can get to 2,000 vans. And my team's eyeballs got really big, right? Like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? That number today, I think we can get to 7,500 vans.
7,500?
Just Aussie Pet.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there. One, that's funny because that was my next question is where does Aussie Pet go from here? What's it look like in 10 years? But two, all right, let's do some back of the napkin math, so-called on that. So 7,500 vans, you think that there's enough demand in, let's call it the US or in whatever markets you guys are currently in to cater towards 7,500 vans, net new?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And your current strategy to get there of, opening up zip codes, finding franchisors and getting them to 3 vans ASAP.
Yes. And 3 is just where we want you to get to reach that tipping point of scale, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, I've got owners with 25 vans in small southern markets, right? Yeah. And they still have room for growth and expansion inside of that market. So I think this industry is going to look drastically different 10 years from now than even what it does today, especially as this convenience comes in. And look, our goal, and I'll say it out loud for everybody to hear, and we are such a long way from this. I believe Aussie Pet can become the first $1 billion mobile pet grooming brand in the world.
Oh my gosh. Well, you heard it here. That is insane. How long do you think it takes you guys to get to 7,500 vans?
We said 10 years, right? It is going to take some time for us to get there. Like, this is not you're not going to talk to me in 2026 and I'm going to tell you we're halfway there even. I don't believe that, but I do believe that in the next 10 to 15 years, we can get there.
Because you guys, I know we were talking about it at the beginning of the call. It's like 100-ish locations this year. You would have to grow at, a wide margin of scale on top of that each year from here on out to reach that 7,500 mark.
Yeah, but I also believe, we talked about 1 van for every territory.
Sure, yeah.
Those 71. I think, saturation, I don't even know if we've proven where saturation is, right? But I believe each one of those territories can have, 3 to 7 vans in them. And so now that 3-pack that we just talked about,
it's 5 now.
It's 21 vans, right? When it gets to where it needs to go. And so, but that takes time, right? That's going to take, building and scaling and doing all the things that we need to do. That's what we believe.
Paul, that is, I've heard some wild takes on this podcast, but that has got to be up there with one of the most inspiring ones. 7,500 vans, that's incredible. If you guys could do that, I'll be there throwing you a party myself. That'd be incredible.
It'll be a good one too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we'll look to wrap things up there. Paul, I want to give you a chance to shout out a spot for listeners to find you or find more information about Aussie as a whole.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn pretty easily. Paul Ebert. You'll see I'm wearing a pink blazer in my profile picture. So two maids and Aussie Pet.
Yep.
AussiePetMobile.com is a great way to find us. We are on all the social platforms, and we, like I said, we're expanding across the country. If somebody heard something that I said out loud today that they want to unpack a little more, I'm happy to jump on the phone. We've got franchise sales advisors that are looking, for candidates, and we're happy to take you through that process.
Awesome.
We actually welcome that.
And if you guys want to talk to Paul directly or get linked up with him, and you can't do that through the channels he mentioned, feel free to reach out to me, and I will reach out to Paul on your behalf and get you guys connected. Paul, thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate you sharing all this knowledge and the lofty goal at the end. I'm going to keep that in mind, man.
I appreciate that. Hold me to that.
I will. I definitely will. I'm going to write that on the whiteboard behind me, and we'll check in on that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and that's the pod.